وصحبه وسلم، والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلال على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. فاللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم واجعلنا مما يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How's everyone? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, good. Good. We're still busy with the delayed Mubtada. No, we're not delayed. Who told you we're delayed? We're on track. We're very on track. So, what number did we reach? So to reiterate the rule, who can remind us of the rule? Oh yeah, last week. I don't know, last week. Yeah? Did you watch it online? Difficult questions. Right. You must watch it online if you're absent. That's why there's online. One of the links. Okay. They must fix it. You must message the admin and you must tell them they must fix it before they come to class. Right? No. So you must catch up. You must catch up. Why? Because if you don't, if you fall far behind, if you fall far back enough behind, you won't come back to the class. Your tardiness will lead to you removing yourself from the course. Right? So you must be disciplined in that there are many options open to you on this journey, and you must take the options that are open to you. Otherwise, you will find yourself a few months down the line, you're sitting at home on a Sunday and you have nothing to do, and you're asking yourself, like, how did I get here? No? And so it's very important to follow up with yourself. And I'm telling you this because as I sit in the position of teacher, I'm here to catch you. And I'm here to help you stay on this road. I'm here to help you remain on this journey. And I'm not saying this to pick out any student on the class. I'm giving you general advice, right? But the general advice must always has a, what do you call that? Sababul wurud, sababul nuzul. The reason for the revelation of this advice is one student was once absent, right? And so you've benefited the class by this. So always try to catch up. Always try to catch up when you, especially when it's only one lesson and you come back. Try to make up for that, because the more you know, the more you will want to know. And the less you know, the more you're going to feel behind. Now, and the last thing we want is for the student to sit in the class and they're utterly bewildered by the simple conversations that we're having just because they missed one or two lessons. And I think last week's lesson was an important one because we took this ruling theory and we fleshed out some very important stuff besides the off the record things. But yes, so let us get back into it. And who can remind us from those who are here, what is the rule? What's the rule of thumb? مؤخر مؤخر The Mubtada is at the back and the Khabar is in front. You're correct. Your hands is going the wrong way. But you say the right thing. Right? Yes? Is that your notes? Excellent. Excellent. It's very close to what I remember saying. So, anyone else want to try? To remind us of the rule? Anyone? I like how there's a question for somebody to come forward and wow, did you see that rakam? Subhanallah, you even noticed how many rakams there are. Right. So what's the rule? The rule is simple, is that this rule is a rule of likelihood. It's a rule of thumb. It doesn't have to be all the time. It's a rule of likelihood. So what's the rule? We said, let's read the note. The note says the delayed mubtada most often occurs when both the following are present. So it says most often because it's a rule of thumb. The rule of thumb means that you can find a condition like this and it's not this concept, right? But most likely by default it is. When both two things are present, you have found the occurrence of a delayed mubtada. When the khabar is a harf jar and ism majroor and the mubtada is indefinite. So what does that mean? That means that when you come across a harf jar with its ism majroor, and that is followed by an indefinite ism, you have likely found a delayed mubtada and a khabar brought forward. When a harf jar and ism majroor is followed by an indefinite ism, you have likely found a delayed mubtada and a khabar brought forward. When a harf jar and ism majroor is followed by an indefinite ism, then you have likely found a delayed mubtada and khabar brought forward. Let's take some of the example. Wa, let's ignore the wa. I'm going to the examples now. It's on the board there. Lahum, for them. That's a harf jar and ism majroor, followed by an indefinite ism. Therefore, I have likely found a mubtada that is delayed and a khabar that is brought forward. I have a lahum adhanun, a harf jar ism majroor, followed by an indefinite ism. I've likely found a khabar that is brought forward and a mubtada that's delayed. Lahum ajrun. Lahum harf jar ism majroor. Indefinite verb, indefinite noun. Mubtada that is delayed and khabar that's brought forward. Ala abasarihim upon their sight. So that's a harf jar and that's the ism majroor and it's followed by an indefinite ism. The lahum adhabun, that's a harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite ism. Fi qulubihim, harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite ism. Fihi dhulumatun, harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite ism. Lahum fiha azwajun, harf jar ism majroor, right? Followed by indefinite ism. So why did I go through that? To show you the ittirad, the consistency of the rule. When you find a harf jar ism majroor followed by indefinite ism, then the second word is the mubtada and the first word is the khabar. Right? What number did we get to in terms of marking? Just ask a question. Don't assume that your question is silly. It might be a correct question. MashaAllah. Was it a recording? We discussed that, isn't it, sir? We discussed why this is significant in our learning the Quran. We discussed this last week. And we discussed it the week before, and we discussed it in relation to the previous concept as well. But I will reiterate it for you and say what? That you say, when you say, fil bayti rajulun, right? Then what are you emphasizing? You're emphasizing the house. Fil bayti rajulun. Right? So when you delay the mubtada or you bring the khabar forward, then normally it is to emphasize something. For example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Masad, في جيدها حبل من مسد. في جيدها حبل. What's that? In her neck is what? حبل. A rope. Can you see here this concept? So now we can ask ourselves, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say في جيدها حبل? Right? Allah subhanahu. This is terrible. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say في جيدها حبل? I was reading it just earlier to make this point to you, that this is وَقُدِّمَ الْخَبْرُ. This exact point is mentioned here. I will read it to you. So I'm still answering the question. What's the question? The question is that why are we splitting hairs in learning these things, or why are we focusing on developing the capacity to notice when the khabar is brought forward and when the mubtada is delayed? Why are we focusing on picking up this phenomena? How does it relate to our journey of understanding the Quran? Right? And so I say to you that it relates to our journey in understanding the Quran in that there is a normative and basic way of using language. And the basic idea of the Arabic language around the khabar and the mubtada, by its very nature, is the fact that the mubtada comes from the word bada'a, and it means to come first. So the mubtada comes first and the information follows. And that's a normal way of speaking. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breaks, or when any user of language breaks from the norm of the way the language is used, then if that being is intelligent, then they will break from that norm in order to make a point. Right? Poets most often do this, and they break language in its entirety. And this capacity of poets I mentioned to you before is called what? Poetic license. Called poetic license. Licentia vartum. Right? So the ability, the capacity, and the allowance of the poet to break a rule of language in order to make a literary point. Right? Over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not breaking a rule of language. This is a phenomena that does occur in language. So if the mubtada always comes first and the khabar generally follows that, then when the mubtada comes second and the khabar comes first, there is a reason for that. And that reason is normally to give emphasis to the thing that is brought forward, right? To give emphasis to the thing that is brought forward. You understand? Now, so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ. So when you say, وَأَعْيُنٌ لَهُمْ, and ears is for them, and ears they have. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the word ears first, then it will give emphasis to the ears. But Allah wants to say what? وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبَصِرُونَهَا وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا. And they have, right? And they have ears, they have eyes, they have. Allah is saying they have. That's the emphasis. That's why it's brought forward. They have all of this, but they still don't listen. They still don't see the signs. They still don't think. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given emphasis to all the things that they have, meaning what? That you are fully equipped with apparatus to interact with divine guidance, yet you don't. So the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts walahum first, it gives emphasis to the fact and it draws attention to something. And that which Allah is drawing attention to is the fact that they have all of this. And the person who has resources should use it in the right way. And so it brings, when we understand that the khabar is brought forward, right? And the mubtada is delayed. When we understand that, we also understand that Allah is not just telling us that they have this and they're not using it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is emphasizing the fact that when you have something, then you must use it to the highest purpose. And the highest purpose of having these apparatus on the worldly level, right, in the most general sense, is to recognize Allah. No? So what is the value of recognizing this in the Quran? It is to know that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delays something, or when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings something forward in speech, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to zoom into something particular and wants to emphasize something specific to us. And so, as opposed to us just reading the words and understanding the meaning behind them, we also understand the subtleties of that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is indicating to us, so that we can position ourselves correctly. So when we just read it, they have ears, they don't listen, they have eyes, they don't see, they have hearts, they don't comprehend, they like animals, rather they are more astray. When we just read it like that, then we just get statements. But when we read it and we read into the language, then we get a message about them and we get a reminder for ourselves. It not only tells me that they have all of this and they're not doing it, but just Allah is not just describing their condition. In that, Allah is pointing towards the reason why the reason why the condition is so laughable, and also the mihwar, the axis for the change of their condition, so that we don't fall into the same thing. You understand that? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not just telling us they have all, Allah is telling us that put emphasis on what they have, so that you can look at what you have and you don't make the mistake that they made in relation to what they have. You see that? So I wanted to give you an example here that I came across. He says, why am I reading this example? Because the author says, وَقُدِّمَ الْخَبْرُ مِنْ قَوْلِهِ فِي جِيدِهَا. And the khabar, قُدِّمَ, it's muqaddam. And the khabar is made muqaddam in Allah's speech, في جيدها للاهتمام بوصف تلك الحالة الفضيحة, to give emphasis to this pitiable condition التي عوضت فيها بحبل في جيدها عن الإقد الذي كانت تحلي به جيدها في الدنيا, to give emphasis to the pitiable condition that the wife of Abu Lahab will have in Jahannam, right? And to juxtapose that to the beautiful necklace that she used to have in this world. And so it's this for that. And this is one of the recurring themes in the surah. Now that you see it all the time in this, the fact that Allah puts this forward, it emphasizes that Abu Lahab is the father of flames and he will be in the flame, and he's used his hands to hurt the Prophet ﷺ, so his hands is destroyed. And the surah, like, there's so much language in it. It's called like, there's like maybe like 7, 8 puns in the surah, and this is one of them, right? It says, إِذْ قَدْ كَانَتْ هِيَ now. And so it's just explaining the fact that he used to have that necklace. But the point is, I just came across it in a previous lesson. So that's the significance if you get the message, right? Number 5, okay. No, fiha is parenthetical. Fiha is extra. So walahum azwajun. Context will tell you. Yeah. So over here, obviously, fiha azwajun. Is Allah saying in it is wives? No, Allah is saying for them is wives. So fiha in it is not referring to the wives. It's referring to Jannah. So in this sentence, you can't see it because we've taken a snippet out of it. But if you take this piece and you put it back into the verse, then you will see that fiha doesn't refer to the wives and it doesn't refer to lahum. It refers to something that's mentioned before it. And what is that? Jannah. And for them in it, in Jannah is azwajul mutahhara. You see that? Okay. So it's a good question, and it's always good to ask. And it's always good to remind ourselves why we do this. Because we mentioned last week that there's many ways that we can split linguistic hairs in this class that we are not doing, but we've decided to focus on some of the key literary devices that appear in the Quran, so that when they appear to you, that you may not understand the emphasis that it brings, but you will know that Allah is employing a literary device here, and that will get you to ask the right questions. And if you don't know about these literary devices in the Quran, you will pass by the verses and you will not even think that there could be deeper meaning behind it. But when you know that this is not the normal way the way that the khabar and mubtada normally works, when you know that there is a way to stray from that norm, you will notice that the norm is being strayed from. And when it is being strayed from, you will ask why. And that's valuable even if you don't know the answer, because now it's getting you to think about the Quran in a way that is deeper, and that speaks directly to the objectives of how and why we study the Arabic language here. So it's an excellent question, not a simple question at all. So can we continue with this is like a class of digressions. This digression session, inshallah. But it's all valuable. Not regression, inshallah. Not. So what number were we at? Number 6. Okay. So I said I must finish at 10 past. Okay, 10 minutes. Let's finish this page. So let's start with of the ladies. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ. And for you in the earth is a dwelling, right? So where's your khabar brought forward? لكم. And you مبتدا مؤخر. مستقر will be the مبتدا مؤخر. فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم. Of the males. And for them is a reward with their Lord. Excellent. So where's your khabar brought forward? فلهم. Excellent. The fa there is extra, right? That will be lahum. And where's your mubtada that's delayed? أجرهم. Excellent. طيب. لهم فيها فاكهة. The mubtada will be, you can consider the mudaf ilayh as one word. All right. So أجرهم is one word. But if you wanted to be technical, you could say أجر. All right. And then hum would be mudaf ilayh في محل jar. Okay. لهم فيها فاكهة. Someone from the online? Okay, someone from the ladies?
And for them, they are fruits. And for them, therein are fruits.
And for them, therein is fruit, or they will have fruit in it. And where's the mubtada?
فاكهة.
فاكهة. And lahum is the khabar muqaddam. ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب. One of the males? Drinks. Excellent. And for them, they in or in it is benefit and drinks. So where will be your خبر مقدم? لهم and the منافع and مشارب. نعم. فيها عين جارية, one of the ladies. In it will be a flowing spring and the خبر مقدم is فيها and the مبتدأ or the مبتدأ مؤخر is عين وعين جارية, right? Obviously عين is a team feminine word, therefore جارية is the صفة, is the صفة, and عين is the موصوف. فيها سرور مرفوعة. Is there anyone from the online?
So for that, I've got therein will be thrones raised high. And then I said the mubtada was sururun.
مرفوعة. Now, so and for فيها therein is she said surur, thrones raised high. Surur, did you get anything else for surur? Couches, thrones. Right? You can both of them work. Raised high, the mubtada was sururun marfu'a and the khabar muqaddam is fiha. Excellent. عليهم نار مؤصدة. Was it now? Miles. Anyone for this? Over them will be the fire closed in. Muqsada, you can say closed in. Upon them is a fire closed in. عليهم would be the خبر مقدم and نار will be the مبتدا مؤخر. فلهم أجر. This is a simple one that came before. And for them is a reward. لهم would be the خبر مقدم and أجر would be the مبتدا مؤخر. فيها كتب قيمة. How do we translate this? In it are precious books. فيها would be the خبر and كتب would be the مبتدا مؤخر. لكم دينكم ولي دين. For you is your religion and for me is my religion. Where's the lakum would be the khabar muqaddam and dinukum would be the mubtada muakhar. Wali is also khabar and deen is mubtada again. Fine. Fi jidiha hablum min masad, we discussed that. Right? So in her neck is a rope of palm fiber. Right? And we said that the mubtada brought forward is jidiha. I mean, the khabar brought forward is jidiha. And the habl rope is the mubtada muakhar. ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة. We did this before, right now? Okay. وهم فيها خالدون. And they will be in it forever. Where's the khabar brought forward? Where's the mubtada? The mubtada is fiha, they say. No. Is the khabar. Is the khabar? Is the mubtada. And khalidun is the khabar. Khalidun. They will be there in forever. So is this not an example? I will agree. This is not an example. This is not an example. Right? Those who know. The last one, وَلَهُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. And for them in the year after is a severe punishment. لَهُمْ is the خبر مقدم. And where's the مبتدا مؤخر? عذاب. طيب. So in next week, inshallah, we will do Ism Kan and its sisters. Are you doing this with anyone else? No. Okay. Then next week we'll move to that, inshallah. Ism Kana and its sisters. So read over the notes there. Is that your last page? Okay. Inshallah, you'll get more notes in the future. So we suffice for that, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين.